All right, welcome to Lunch and Learn. Today I am Jeremy Litwinowitz on the training team, and I will be leading our Lunch and Learn call for today. I see some people are just starting to join in, so I'll give it a minute for others to join. We do have a couple pre-submitted questions from James, so we will get to those, start taking a look at those first. But if you have any additional questions, please feel free to post them in the chat or Q&A, and we'll get to them. And again, we'll start in just a minute. All right, let's go ahead and get started. As I said, I'm Jeremy. I'll be leading our call today. Just to kind of go over a couple of our typical things. Um, Please feel free to check out our YouTube channel, Decisions-Support. You can check it out up there. But it's got a lot of good things. It's where we post our lunch and learns. We're also posting up some content a little bit every week for some new things. Recently, we put up a couple step-specific videos cover um, of the ins and outs of a bunch of different steps and decisions, which is pretty cool. And I know we'll be having some more stuff up this week, including something about extension data and all about how extension data works. So there's a lot of cool things there. You can also check out our solutions marketplace where we have a number of different applications and other things that you can use decisions for that may some people may find useful and may be really cool. So I'll leave it at that, but feel free to check either of those two things out. In case there's anything you wanted to take a look at or learn a little bit more about. But with that in mind, we've got a couple of questions, and so we will start with the pre-submitted ones that I had first, and then we will go from there. All right, so we had a couple pre-submitted questions from James. So I will allow you to talk, James, so we can kind of discuss a little bit and get more details for what specifically you're looking for. But we'll just start with the first one that you asked, and then we'll get to the second one afterwards. So the first question, how do I populate multiple drop-down lists from a data source on a data repeater?
So yeah, I've got a data repeater on a form, and in that repeater, there's like 3 drop-down boxes that each will refer to separate data sets that have been loaded from a database for the drop-downs selection. And I've done it on a form with just a regular field drop-down, but I'm missing something as it comes to connecting up those fields on a data repeater to get the data to show.
Right, let me just create our data repeater real quick. You said it had 3 drop-downs on it?
Yes, and then just a text box. But yeah, the 3 drop downs are the thing I'm most concerned about. But the text box will also display some data from one of the drop downs. As it's selected, there'll be an action flow that'll go in and select some text that's in that selection and display it there as well.
Okay. We might not configure that right away, but we'll just throw it in there just so we have it. Text. Anything specific about the types? Are they just?
They're just strings.
Okay.
They are coming from a data source though.
Okay. What about the whole data repeater? Is there anything specific about the form input that I need to know?
No, right now I'm just trying to get those drop downs to work. I put an add and a delete button on the form, but for the data repeater, but that's it.
Right, right. I'm talking about like on the data repeater, right? You need your form data needs an input type.
Oh
Is
yeah,
this like something that you created? That's what I was just trying
yeah.
to
There's
get.
a date. Um, the there will be a data set that a case entity that's kind of like the rest of the form will be filled in with.
Okay.
But yeah, that'll be on the rest of the form, I guess, but not necessarily in this data repeater. I'll do that afterwards once they save the data.
Okay. All right. Well, this takes a second to load. I see quite a few people have joined. Just as a quick reminder, we had a couple pre-subs from James, so we're working on those right now. Um, First question focusing on populating drop-down lists in data repeaters. But then if any of you have additional questions, please feel free to post them in the chat for the Q&A. We can discuss them.
James, do you know what the data repeater like input type that you will be using will be?
Um, what do you mean by that, Jared?
Jeremy, if you can go inside the data repeater source.
Yes, so does.
Um, uh, in order to utilize a data repeater or form controllers, you have to have it tied to an input type because you can't just set up a form or a data repeater without like some composite type it's tied to.
So that's probably where I'm a little confused. So what come because each of these fields are nothing basically at this point, they're nothing but work and storage fields that I'm going to be directing. The drop downs will be pointing to a database structure be that will populate the fields that they select from the drop down.
Hmm.
The form itself it has a case entity tied to it. I'm not sure what I should put in that input type there on the data repeater itself. Is that looking for like, because they're all strings, if that makes, I'm just not, I'm a little confused as to what that data type should be, or that input type should be, and where it should come from. So is that on the whole repeater or just the one field?
It's on the whole repeater.
Yeah,
Like if I click on the canvas area,
right,
right, there's this form data and I have to
right.
set an input type. If that's
Because,
not there,
right.
it will error out and it tells me like even on some of these, like I need to have an
So,
input type on my repeater in order to actually do this.
um, so I don't know how to set that up because these right now are just going to be drop downs that they select. So do I have to have those stored somewhere where it's going to, is that what it's looking for, where they're ultimately going to be stored? Because right now, as far as I'm concerned, they're working storage fields. They're going to select a list of fields and I'm going to save them off to um, to different entities once they've indicated, once they've made their selections. So, I mean, I guess if I have to create like a like a flow entity or something like that just to store them, I guess I could do that. If that's if that's what it's looking for, like one common entity that all these drop downs, um, the data source for all of them, I guess. I don't know. I just, I don't know exactly what it's looking for.
Yeah, so it's just looking for a composite type because in order, like whenever we set up that input type, we have to then pick like the data name of it. So as soon as we select, the data type of whatever we decide, then we have to like pick that certain entity. I would just try, hey Jeremy, just go to like a release notes test or try like on a different server.
Yeah.
I think we have what is it? Uh, I9 import. that'd be a good one to kind of demonstrate another again. But basically where we created a data type that we were going to reference the repeater that it would all look at the same data type. And then we were able to then say the text box is assigned to the email property on that inbox, or on not
Right,
inbox, on
right,
that data type, right? And then
right.
it's assigned to this.
So
So
that's,
yeah, so I9 applicant data repeater, yeah.
yeah, I
So
remember
that's what
doing that. So I would have to like
Here we go.
create a data type that would store these selections as they're being made. Is that what you're saying?
kind of.
Like,
You won't need like a storage one. Like, there's a couple of data types and decisions that aren't storable.
mhm,
So
mhm.
for example, you could just create a flow structure with like
Right,
and the
the flow
properties are
structure.
like, my classroom list, my student list, my teacher list. And then you can say that kind of flow structure list type or flow structure type is going to store those lists. And then what you can do inside the data repeater is say, I want active form flows to fetch my database and populate the string lists for this data repeater.
Okay.
And then you would have, a list of those.
So I guess on the data repeater, drop downs work differently because I'm grabbing these off of a data structure, a database,
Okay.
and I have to store them in that list, I guess, before I can just have them in the drop down. Because when you do an active form flow, you just fetch it and store it into the field,
hmm
and it drops them down.
Yeah. That'd be
It's
the same thing here. So
Yeah,
you can create an
nothing.
active form flow. Go ahead.
Yeah, nothing changes. It's more like how you get it to set up to like actually be usable here, right? So I've set up my import data. My import data is that data type that contains like first and last name and stuff for this project. And so then on each of these fields, these are just text boxes, but you could do the same with a drop down. It's just the data name of this comes from that like I9 import data. So here, this field is the data name is from the first name.
right.
This one is the
So
last name
so
and
what
the email.
I guess my issue is that each one of those drop downs come from a different database entity. So there'll be one database entity that holds all my department IDs, and they select from that. One has all the project IDs, and one has all the fund codes. They're going to be selecting from these different database entities have to be loaded into each one of those drop downs. So they're not on one entity unless I do something to preload it into, like you said, a flow structure as a list, which there could be, hundreds of these. That's why I stored them in the database for each one, and they're different databases. They're different database entities.
Right. So so that's, and I think that's why if you create a flow structure with a string list of like, this is the class, right? I have a classroom data type. I
Mm-hmm,
have a student data type. I have a teacher data type. And I
mm-hmm,
have lists of all those things. I create a flow structure that says that is just a list of strings that's classroom list, student list, and teacher list. And then when on the active form flow that I create here, I can say, hey, fetch that entity to populate that specific drop down list for the classroom, for all that stuff.
okay.
Another thing you could do, if that is, if are all the data types that you've created, are they related to one another?
No,
Okay,
they're
gotcha. The
separate
only other,
ones. They
gotcha. And
will
there's
be
no,
pulled together because they end up being GL accounts that go into the accounting system eventually, but they have to select each individual one.
mhm, right. And
Um,
so in the relationships, there's no like, classroom. Many classrooms can have, teachers are one to many. There's
oh,
one teacher to many classrooms, and then you
not at
can.
this point, but I
Okay.
can foresee us having to do that, where you're saying the first drop down dictates what the second drop down can put in it.
Kind of, I guess what I'm suggesting is if your data types all relate in some way, what you can do is you can create a table view and like combine all those tables into one long view, and then you
Right,
could set
right.
that as its own type, and then you can
Yeah,
attach that here into the data repeater,
yeah,
which would
yeah,
save a lot of the different like,
right.
create another type to store that to look at this.
Yeah, yeah, they're totally different. They're
Okay,
totally
gotcha.
different. And they need to be individually selected. So, and like I said, like on the form itself, where I'm doing them as a single drop down on the form, I'm just using an active form flow and using the fetch entities to grab them off the database and populate that dropdown. That individual dropdown. There's each one of these 3 dropdowns are on a form, but I want to put them in the data repeater because we now have the requirement where they could have separate GL lines for one thing that they're purchasing. So, you know, they could have one widget from one company and another widget from a different company, and they have different GL information requirements depending on where they're buying from. So I'm having to, on that form, I'm having to make I want to put a data repeater so they can just enter each line separately with the GL codes that go with it.
Is this related to the CSV thing that you were working on the other day, where it's like,
No, I mean,
okay, okay.
it's not, I mean, it's kind of in the same project, but it's a different thing.
Gotcha. The reason why I asked is because there's a CSV editor that we have as a form control that allows people to create new lines for data. And so that I could see would have been a better design paradigm instead of data repeater, fetch the list of data, and then it's displayed.
Yeah,
Because that's the only thing I'm concerned about from just a scalability perspective.
so you're talking about loading these from the CSV?
Well, that's why I was wondering if they were related, because there is a
No.
paradigm where you can do, if they're not, and if they're not, then this wouldn't be a viable option.
Yeah, I mean, the CSV gets created after all of this is input. So the CSV is the output of this whole thing.
Got it.
Not
Okay.
the input.
I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that would be the best way. I would try that flow structure way and see if that suffices your needs.
Okay. So I create a flow structure that has like a project list, and then I run a fetch entities that creates the list field. And that's what I use for the repeater field, is that list field on that flow entity.
We'll take it offline. We'll create you a small project and send it to you so you can kind of see what it looks like.
Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think I got the concept, but yeah, that would be nice to see how you actually do it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay.
And
Great.
that other
And
question was just, I have a form with all kinds of required fields on it. And you know how when you hit the submit button, it's gonna, you know, just highlight them in red and make you go back and change them. And it's kind of difficult to see. So what I would like to be able to do is have a pop-up come up when they hit that submit request and list all the fields they need to fill in. Yeah, like that.
got it.
Kind of like in your face type of thing.
Yeah,
So,
but more obvious.
so
I
they don't
guess,
have to
than
like,
just
yeah,
this.
know to scroll over the button and yeah, it'll show
Right.
you. But just something, they hit that button and it says, hey, you need to fill in these fields, and give them a little bit more, maybe some additional instructions on what to do in some cases, fill that in. I'm just wondering, is there a way that I can, at that time, tell which ones have like tripped that required flag?
I don't know about like immediate, like,
Yeah, I'm
I
thinking
don't know
on the
about the
button.
most obvious options. 'Cause I haven't messed that. I know you could, I mean, you could manually set that for sure with the active form flow. That would get a little complex
Sure,
to,
yeah, I'd have to,
like
well, then I'd have to
check if
know,
there's data
yeah.
there,
Yeah, I'd
like
have
that
to
kind of thing.
manually do the required stuff. I was just wondering, I mean, I guess, obviously the system knows, but I guess there's no way I can tap into that to see, which ones were tripped on the form that, when they hit the button.
I don't think it's like it's not like a special, I guess, like different item that appears when you click the submit. It'll rerun any data that's meant to run right away.
Yeah, because I could always create an active form flow on that submit button if I could just gather them all up, is what I want to do, basically.
Right.
As soon as they click that, I can go and like gather them and, I mean, I don't mind if they're highlighted and stuff. I just want to have a pop-up in addition to that,
Yeah,
that
you
can
just
give
want
them
the
some
extra.
additional instructions, because on some of our stuff, it can be a little tricky as to what you're supposed to fill out, and, um, maybe I could clarify that a little bit in a pop-up and stuff like that. And then, like longer forms and stuff, it'll be nice to know exactly what fields instead of having to hunt around for the one that's highlighted in red, because it's not always obvious.
Hmm. Yeah, unless someone else knows for sure if there's an additional, I don't think there's like an obvious. I think
Okay.
it's kind of like in the back end when you have your outcome scenario set for required for it to
Hmm.
set that validation.
Right, right,
So I think otherwise you'd kind of be forced to, have some kind of set it up through here to check basically like, if data is null, show pop up,
right.
build a
Yeah.
list of all the items that are null.
Yeah,
Have your item check for that, and then just have this show a pop up. Um,
right.
I mean, you could do it in one, you should be able to do it in like one rule at
Yeah,
least to check all of them, and then have your pop up build a list of all of
yeah,
those.
yeah.
But yeah, I think you'd have to manually build an active form flow to do that.
You can also
Okay.
set up just because I was building in the background, it's a fun ask. You can set up a single rule with all of your prompts as equals null, and on the false path do a show pop up, and a part of form data contents there's a list of all the validation issues. So you could say as long as all of these are not null, like yeah, go to form data and then go to contents
Oh, contents, there we go.
and then a list of validation issues, and you can have that all that list show up on a pop up.
Oh, so there is a list of all the validation issues.
It would
Those are
require some
validation
testing.
issues, though. Does it capture the required flags that were tripped there
Yeah,
too?
I think those required flags do fall under validate. I'll do a quick build
Gotcha.
out while he's kind of
Yeah, I mean,
working, and I'll have
yeah,
information
that's
for you in
pretty
five
cool
minutes.
there. I didn't know that existed right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'll
Yeah,
do
we'll
some
take that
building.
offline. Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I'll
like,
have
we'll take
some.
some offline and build in the background, and we'll move on to the next question, James. But we'll give you some stuff
Yeah,
that you
no
can act
problem,
on.
no problem. Thanks for answering this. That's helpful.
Of course. All right. Our next question we've got is from Smitha. And Smitha is asking, can we update a particular node in an XML file, and how should we do that? Let me create flow real quick and test it out. If you have any other, I'll give you the opportunity to talk, Smitha, if you want to add anything or kind of point me in directions while we're kind of working.
Yeah, I was looking at your documentation and saw some serialized, deserialized. I kind of got confused. So if you can point me in the right direction, how we can do this, that'll be great.
Sure. Let's see what kind of steps we got here. What kind of steps are you trying to use at the moment?
What we need to do is we have an XML file, and then we need to update the nodes from based on some database values, and then output this XML file. That's basically what we want to do. And I was looking at the available components like deserialize and stuff like that, but I didn't go too much.
Got
And
it.
the other one I was looking at was XML to dynamic. So I kind of lost track as what is the difference.
Got it. Okay. Let's take a quick look here. Okay. Let's see what we do with this. close and reopen this real quick. Okay. Let's throw just a quick. And see what happens here. Okay. So your goal, remind me one more time what your goal is with.
Say I want to update any node, like one of the bodies or something like that, right? To instead of don't forget me this weekend to something else, some other value. Basically, I have to get this value from a database, but that I think we can add an in between step to get the value and hold it in a variable or whatever. But if I want to update one node like that, how can I do that? Instead of saying, I don't want an email. It should
I
generate.
was just grabbing something real quick.
Okay, sorry.
Something.
Sorry.
No, you're fine. I just wanted to see what outputs kind of look like.
Okay, okay. And on that note, for the email part, should we configure Outlook or will it just work on the server?
It should this specific server I'm using is not going to work because we don't have anything set up. But like if you're just on your like a local connection or something, it should be fine.
Okay.
Unless you have like a specific SMTP server that you need to
Connect
send with
to.
anything.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. So let's see. This is going to output. Holy no. I know this specific XML to dynamic is a little odd. It's the output of this is like a special type. I don't really know if there's an easy way to edit this. It doesn't come out as its own, like, I guess, an obvious type. I don't know if maybe that's, let me not do this step. Let me try it with one of these other ones first. Because I think that's just a little bit more complex.
Mhm.
Just clear that. Mhm. No, I always mix up serialized and deserialized stuff. Okay. Hey, Jared's still on this call. Do
Yep.
you know as more about XML stuff than I do? Because I'm really just a little out of my element on XML concepts.
Mhm.
Sure. What are we trying to do? I wasn't really focusing on the
Do you want
question.
we want the ability to like be able to edit or update as one specific like node or piece of an XML file. So like if I have something like this,
So are you passing in a file? Is that what you're trying to do?
yeah, if I have like an XML that's right, like something like this,
Yeah.
can I change a piece of it?
Yeah, I think you get like properties. So go. So we said XML to dynamic. Can you click on that step? Oh, you were just messing around. That's not what you were using.
Uh, we haven't. She like Smitha was saying that we was trying a bunch of different things and isn't really sure, I guess, where to go from here. So that's why I was also
So,
grabbing some things too.
Smitha, how are you getting it? Is this a file you're uploading? Like, how is this? How are we getting
Yeah.
this XML information?
We have different ways. One is we are generating, the other is we are grabbing a file. So we already had a from S3 buckets. So we already had the file.
Okay, so you already got the file.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay.
And
So,
one node on that needs to be updated with a value from the database.
sure. All right, cool. Let's see. Let me just save this, pause this. Because there's a couple ways you could do this. So, Jeremy, I'm gonna send you like a sample XML file, sample XML file. Haha. That's what I want. Ooh, books, that was a good idea. Books XML. Haha. All right, let me send this to you, Jeremy. Save as books.xml, because I think we can definitely show it this way, and I think that'll be easier. This is in my desktop. Cool. And then what we're gonna do is let me find books XML. Cool. And I'm just gonna DM you this so that we can share it on the screen. Jeremy. Oops, oh, there we go. And then boom. So what I want you to do, Jeremy, is go ahead, once I send this thing, go ahead and just create a form with a form with a file upload so that we can upload that file and get it into here. And then we can demonstrate that ability of kind of updating that single property. Right, this may not be how you get the data, but we'll just kind of use this as kind of like just a framework of how to update stuff with something live.
Sure, not a problem.
Yeah. All right, cool. Data name, yeah. Cool, and save. And then go ahead and drag over the step because what I want to see is what the data looks like. So go ahead and say convert get string from bytes to change the file contents data we get to see what the output of that file data looks like. Well, now go ahead, debug, upload the file for me. I just want to see that data is because I think there's some steps that we can grab inside that will allow us to, let me open up another local thing here. And let's see. Actually, I think I have it already in the flow designer. Where did I put it? Right here. Haha. Okay, cool. So that's all that in string text. So we get that. Okay, so here's what I want us to do. Jeremy, I want to change its book ID. Actually go back. You still see that? What we want to change is not the book ID. Let's change the author from this guy to your name. So that's what our goal is. Now, to do this, go ahead and let's grab a lookup XML. And there should be like get path or something. Get XML, that's the flow you're in. What's this? Oh,
this and this are not. It's only these 4 steps.
No, yeah, no, I know. Get XML, just do that for me. I wanted to see what that step does.
This one.
Yeah. Oh, oh, it's just from the type name. I wonder if we have to create it. So the best way to do this, I don't want to make this so difficult. But so do you know what the type of data you're gonna get in, Smitha? Like, is
We
it
want to update a date.
right? But is it? It's the same XML file or same XML format you're gonna be getting, right?
We are going to just get one field. It's not we're not going to update the whole XML. It's just one data
No,
element.
I understand the criteria. My question is though, is that the whole XML package doesn't change, right? It's not a
Correct, correct,
dynamic
correct.
XML. Okay, cool.
Correct.
So then what you can do just to make this easier is, Jeremy, go ahead and create a data type based on this XML.
Yep.
Yeah, just go ahead, create data types and integration. And what you can do is you can create this XML data type from it. To the left. See where it says XML/JSON?
Oh yeah.
I have and then create types from XML, and then paste the book, like you're gonna have to open up that book thing and
Yep.
paste in that structure. And what this allows us to do, Smith, is it's gonna create a data type over all of the XML properties. And so what this does, it just makes it easier from a decisions perspective, because now it takes in that XML and now it's a flow structure in decisions. And then you can easily update that property and then output that file with that updated changed for it.
So what this means is that as long as the structure is like this, I can update any different files. The data can be different, but it'll update whatever I need.
Exactly.
Basically, the XML can be any XML.
Yeah, correct. If you wanna, so this isn't dynamic XML. What this does is just says, hey, I know that I've created a type. This is gonna be for books, right? So this is for books. Go ahead and generate that type, Jeremy. So I'm gonna pass in a book, and I want to change the author to be, Jeremy, which you'll see us do in like a couple minutes, and then you can then output that flow structure back into an XML and store it wherever you need to. All right, cool. So go ahead and go back to the flow. And then now what we're going to do is go ahead and pass in, let's see, I think it's a XML deserialize. After, yeah. It's got to be after that. Do you mind if I build it real quick? I'll just log into the server. Submit the XML. That's in LNL. Cool. Yeah, let me just build that real quick, and I'll share my screen too. Replace current share screen too. Let's see. So if I go here, so all we got to do now is, I believe, was it this outputs a single string. Can anyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. So we're going to add this here, and we're going to try to deserialize this. So if I can take this, error, done, add that here. The type is going to be not string, but it's going to be the book, catalog book, boom. And then the string to deserialize will be the stuff that we get from here. And then let's see if this actually works. Let's see. Desktop, books XML. We're going to run this thing, put it through here. What is the error? Invalid operation. Was not expecting the catalog. Was not expecting void read 3. So I gotta test this XML a little bit. Let me go ahead, open this, edit this data real quick. I'm going to remove this. And then let's go page down to the end. Okay, cool. I think that should get us what we're looking for. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this. And then now let's try it. Boom, boom, boom. Books, run, submit, still the error. Exodus, my val character into position. So I'm gonna try one more thing, and then what we'll do is, if you put your email in the chat, Smitha, We'll
Sure.
create a small project for you and we'll just send it out.
Sure, that'll
Um,
be great.
so you can see what this looks like. Because I believe this would be the best way
Mhm.
for you to go forward and kind of handle it. Let's edit this here. Invalid character. I'm actually gonna paste this. I want this. Nope, that's not what I want. Boom. I go ahead, save, and we're going to copy. Let's say valid XML test. XML validator. Where's this? That's not what I want. Perfect. So I'm going to grab this here, validate. Okay, says it's valid XML. Is it because, so it's a one catalog? No, it should work. I wonder if it adds some stuff. It's something from, I think it's probably something with how I'm uploading it. And that's what's causing it to have some issues. Whoa, what happened there? Oops, so in outputs, it says catalog. There's no XLMS. Yeah, that's not in there. I'm not sure if it's updating what I want. So let me try. I have another idea. Grab here. We're going to copy all of this because I think it's just something with how this step outputs that data. So we're going to set this to a constant, put that in here, and then let's see how that works. Okay, no, so it doesn't like it. Cool. Yeah, let me take it offline. We'll figure it out and we'll send you something. Right?
Sure. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. And at the moment, we have one more question. Let me share my screen back. Okay. We have one other question from Elon. And Elon asks, can you walk me through how to design or configure CRUD actions for an external entity? All right. Let's give me just a second here. A lot of E's. All right. I did give you the option to speak, Elon. I know that's not like a super deep question, but if you just need to, if you want to chime in or anything, you can.
Okay, yeah, that's basically in the question. I just wasn't sure, like I already defined my external entity data structure, and I just wasn't sure how to configure, define the SQL query steps to do those CRUD actions. So that's kind of really what I wanted to see.
Sure. So you said you already configured your external entity and everything.
Yes. Yeah.
Perfect. Let me just make a quick sample then here. Date. Okay. We'll just make a quick like person structured base. Obviously, you can have any fields that you want to have detailed in there. What? I don't know what that was. Hopefully that doesn't affect or change anything. And Smitha, I'll address your question in just a second once I get a chance to point this out. Okay, so we create our I don't know what just happened or why I created two of these configuration folders. Yeah, so basically when you create an external entity, right, it's going to create your little configuration folder, right? But it looks a lot different than, regular like case entity configuration folders and that kind of thing. And that's because it kind of lets you it makes you kind of create these yourself. So they won't be pre-configured to have these like steps. So if you're trying to, save or update or anything like that, any of these, right, they're not configured like they are automatically in other examples. I do have, let me post this real quick, a link also for a documentation for this. In case you wanted to, if you haven't taken a look at that, you want to take a look at it. But basically, let's say we want to create this save. We'll open up our save flow so that we can have that. And then we can still grab, but similar to what we would kind of do in general. You can still go down to user defined types, and you will see a folder for I thought you would see a folder for external entities. Different. Maybe it's different. Elon, what version of decisions are you using, by the way? I should have asked that earlier.
I think it's 8.
Eight?
Yeah, let me double check.
I believe this might be 819 because in 820 the dynamic serialized step has been removed.
Hmm.
I'm in 812.
Oh, my bad.
Right. Oh, okay. I don't think I missed anything here. Hang on. There should be another option in user defined types, unless that's what that error that popped up is dealing with. Let me try to create one more. Exception has been thrown. Target invocation. Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know what's. Let me try this one more time here in my other instance and see if that changes anything. First name, last name. We'll just create those for now. Let's see. Okay, that did not error out this time. Okay. And then we get our configuration folder. Let's try this again. Okay, so we got these same things. Let's open up save. Let's see if it's got what I was hoping it was going to have for. Reason being, let me just pull up documentation real quick just to show this. It's really just in case this doesn't load. Oh, here it goes. Never mind. User defined types. There we go. This is what I thought I was going to see, but I think with whatever that error that was popping up was making it not show up. You should have an external entities option down here with the data type that you created. And then obviously it's going to be a lot more limited on what you're like looking for, right? Because we need those things to be configured.
So
And so,
this is kind of, sorry, I was just
no,
gonna
go
say
ahead.
kind of the part where I got stuck on. I got this far. That validate step, is that where you like where do you config where are you doing the configuration?
Yes, these are like, right, this is where you would find those data pieces. But otherwise, you'd have to actually like create this data yourself. And that's like, I guess the tricky part of using an external entity to like create these things, because if it doesn't exist or like, naturally, um, these items, these are like, they don't actually exist. You have to create the flow for what would happen if we wanted to save this data. And that's what you're building here, from my understanding, is like, if you wanted to actually save the data, this is the flow that would run if you tried to run a save data step. And so if I like go down to here, right, now that I've actually like done something here, I have a save item here with my information. And if I build data on it, I should have those items here, right? There's not going to be anything extra to it. Like if I create, a case entity or something, right, and I build data on a case entity, I've got a lot more things. We have like decisions that automatically generates IDs for you, like all of that stuff, since it's coming from an external system. If you're using this external entity, that does not get auto-generated. Everything has to be completely created here. But I can simply from here now grab from whatever I need to pull from, if you have your data, whatever, if it's constant or anything like that. But you do need to just, I guess it's like a start to configure, and it might have even just taken a second to populate this. But you should still have these like options down here, but you have to, start the process of utilizing these actual steps, or like utilizing these items here. Because nothing actually existed until I started editing and looking at these actions. And then once I start actually editing them and making changes to them, now I can see the data for each of these. And you'll see I only have these options. I don't have any of the other ones, like a selective update or anything, because I haven't gone in to start to configure anything with those yet. It's a little confusing.
So the combination with this, so you have to remember, Elon, is that the configuration with the external entity is you have to have some external entity you're tying it to, right? So if, let's say I have an external database and I call this external database employees, right? This is outside of decisions. We're not even in decisions world yet, right? But let's say how I connect it to decisions is I create a database integration to that database, right? With me so far?
Yeah.
Cool. So we create that integration. Now we have it. But the thing is, right, is we want end users. Let's say Jeremy's creating this for me. But he's creating a dashboard for me. I don't know anything about decisions, and I don't want to have to like create some type of complicated flow to fetch entities from an external data source, change the connection string, and do all this stuff. It's very confusing. So what I can do then is we can create an external entity, tie it to that person external database, and then what you would use is, Jeremy, if you can go up on your properties menu to the left. You go up, left.
Oh, sorry, on the left. My bad.
Yeah,
Sorry.
go all the way up and then go to integrations on the bottom, or so
Oh,
integrations database. And then just go ahead and go ahead and expound the JL address master data, right? And then go expand the DBO address data. So right, we created this integration. So in order to create a create step where someone who's non-technical like me, who's just creating records from a dashboard, Jeremy just has to say, okay, cool, we're gonna add the, what is it, the create. Where's that create? Insert to DBO address data, which is the create step in the integration. Attach to the line, please.
Mhm.
And then go ahead and delete that save Elon test data step. Cool. And then what I can do is then it's going to say, okay, what are the inserted objects? And then go ahead to the click on the end step for me. Okay, cool. So what this is now this is the action that can be passed in. And obviously with this insert data, let's say I would have some variables within the query integration that would allow an end user to pass the information into. So I can create that user action for me on my dashboard easily. But that's how these things would work. You would combine it with steps that allow you to integrate with it and then connect it to it on that menu there.
Okay, I think I see.
It just kind of the value out of this is it just makes the right clickable user action creation more efficient, because now a user doesn't have to use that insert step in their world. All they see is, oh, create a new address record, cool. And in the back end, we know we use this. We had a query that takes in variables and took in that user inputted data there.
Okay. Okay, cool. I'm gonna spend some time messing with this. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. With that, we are ending our time or running out of time here as well. Smithy, you asked about where you can access the recordings and things. I did just post the link to our YouTube channel, so you can have access to that. Here's also, I'll go back to presenting this again as well. But this also has QR codes to link to it. But yeah, all of our lunch and learns are posted daily, so you can have the previous ones, any of the past ones, and we'll make sure that we get them uploaded once our video recording renders and everything, so we can get those uploaded soon as well for these, as well as other additional content. But otherwise, thank you all for joining today. We had a lot of good questions. We'll make sure to reach out to those of you that we mentioned of building some quick little projects and some reference and stuff like that, and we will get back to you from that. Otherwise, thank you all for joining, and we will continue this week with Robert and then myself again on Thursday. So we will see you all next time. Thank you all.